Joining me right now is the top Democrat on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey. Senator, thanks for joining us. Venezuelans have been protesting in the street for months now, but Maduro has still managed to hang on to power. Do you think today is different?
Well, I think it's much different because in addition to the citizens peacefully protesting, you have elements of the military and intelligence that have come out and sided with the constitutional president, which is Juan Guaido. Under the Venezuelan constitution, Juan Guaido is the interim president, recognized by 50 countries in the world. So it's the military responding to constitutional order, at least an element of them. And so I think that's significantly different, and I look forward to, I hope, a peaceful resolution in which Juan Guaido will act as the interim president and then move on towards elections.
You heard from White House National Security Advisor Ambassador John Bolton today. What did he have to say about the situation?
Well, he was giving me insights about where it was. That was early this morning, what activities were taking place. I noticed in his later press conference, he specifically called out three key leaders in the Venezuelan government: the head of the Venezuelan Supreme Court, the head of the Defense Ministry, and the head of the Palace Guard, all who had supposedly made commitments to Guaido that it was time for a transition to a peaceful transition where Maduro would have to leave. And the reality is that the only way that there can be a violent end to this is with Maduro turning over his security forces against the Venezuelan people, taking what soldiers are left that may be loyal to him, using the Cubans that are propping him up, nearly 20,000 of them in the security apparatus inside of Venezuela, and nearly 100 or so more Russian troops that were sent in by Russia to ultimately work against the Venezuelan people in a violent way. He's the only one who can make it truly violent at the end of the day.
Maduro's, it seems obvious that he's not going to willingly give up power. Obviously, the Russians could encourage him to step down. The Cubans could encourage him to step down. The United States could play some sort of role in terms of trying to give him some sort of soft landing. Is there any way that this ends with Maduro out of power without it being violent?
It could happen. It's very clear. Number one is the Cubans have been using Venezuela as in a parasitic relationship. They're basically getting resources out of Venezuela to prop the regime up. So they send their most significant intelligence services to help Maduro stay in power. But at some point, the Cubans have to understand that there's a consequence for them. The Russians have to understand that if they want to get their monies paid back, which is why I've got to believe that they're in there, that they will do it with a government that is functioning, not with Maduro's failed enterprises. And even the Chinese have an interest to get paid back. So at the end of the day, if there is the type of movement of the Venezuelan people that Juan Guaido has called for, and the continuing international pressure of the 50 countries that have recognized Guaido and the Organization of American States and others, then I think if there is an understanding that there's no place for Maduro to go to unless he strikes a deal, it could be a peaceful transition at the end of the day.
Well, let's hope for peaceful transition. Senator Bob Menendez, thank you so much for your time.